Treasure Map by Stuart J. Murphy, illustrated by Tricia Tusa. Treasure Map. "Look what I found," yelled Matthew as he raced into the clubhouse. The members of the Elm Street Kids Club all watched as he unrolled a big piece of paper. "It's a treasure map," said Matthew. "Treasure map," repeated Petey, Meg's pet parrot, as everyone crowded closer to see. "Wow, buried treasure," said Danny. "That X must be where it's buried." "Look at the date," said Matthew. "It's more than 50 years old." "It says start here," said Sherry, "and the arrow's pointing to Elm Street and First Avenue. That's our corner. It looks like the treasure is buried somewhere in that new Wonderland Park," said Meg. "Let's go." "I'll bring a shovel," said Jed, "just in case we find the buried treasure." They raced to the corner. Then Matthew read clue number 1. "From Elm Street, walk down First Avenue toward Rocky River. At the next corner, Oak Street, turn left." "Rocky River's down that way," Judd said, pointing. "Let's go," said Meg. Let's go," squawked Petey. I see a bunch of clues and their legend for their map. They turned onto First Avenue and marched toward Oak Street. Jed led the way. Sherry put on her baseball cap and jumped behind Jed. Danny followed, rubbing a new penny for good luck. Meg shoved her comic book into her pocket and joined them, and Matthew hurried behind with the map. When they got to the corner of Oak Street and First Avenue, they turned left. "Here we are," said Jed, "and Wonderland Park is over there. What's next?" Matthew read clue number 2. "Now keep walking about 125 giant steps until you come to a dirt path on the right that leads to the park." "Gosh, that's a lot of steps," said Danny. Lot of steps," chimed in Petey. They counted 125 giant steps and looked to their right. "There's no path," said Danny, "but there's a big sidewalk, and it does lead to the park," said Meg. "And it looks like it's in the right place," said Jed, pointing to the map. "Maybe it was a dirt path 50 years ago," said Sherry. "We're getting closer," said Jed. "What do we do now?" Matthew read clue number 3. "Walk up the path through a pine grove and continue to the top of the hill where you'll find a big oak tree." Sherry looked at the map. "Well, it looks like it's twice as far as it was from the corner to this sidewalk," she said. "That would make it 250 giant steps, all uphill." "We can do it," said Jed. We can do it," agreed Petey. While Jed counted off 250 giant steps, they passed through a group of pine trees and reached the top of the hill. "I don't see any big tree here," said Danny as he sat down on an old stump. "Me neither," said Jed as he picked up a newspaper from the ground and fanned himself with it. "Wait a minute," said Sherry. "That stump was once a big tree. This could be the place after all." Matthew looked at the map. "I think Sherry is right," he said. That must be her thinking cap. "Okay," said Jed excitedly. "Now what?" Matthew read clue number 4. "Cross Rocky River where you see a great big rock. Nearby, look for a flat rock with a big X on it. X marks the spot." They started walking toward the river, and pretty soon they came to a big moss-covered rock. "This must be it," said Matthew, looking at the map to be sure. Everyone started looking for a rock with an X on it. Everybody except Petey, that is. He just plopped himself down for a rest. "Come on, Petey," yelled Meg. "You can't stop now." She clapped her hands loudly behind his back. Petey jumped, and there it was. He had been sitting on a flat rock, and Meg noticed a big X carved into the top. "Petey found it," Meg hollered. Petey ruffled his feathers proudly. Jed could hardly wait. He grabbed a shovel and started digging. Pretty soon he hit something that sounded like metal. Jed reached in and carefully removed a flat metal box from the hole. It had been taped shut. He pulled off the tape and pried the cover open. "Wow, look at this cool old stuff," said Meg. "It's a time capsule from another kids' club a long time ago," said Danny. When they had finished looking at everything, Sherry asked, "Now what do we do with it all?" "I know, let's put it back for someone else to find," suggested Jed. "Maybe we can add some stuff of our own and make it our time capsule too," said Matthew. "Great idea," said Meg. "Great idea," chattered Petey. "I'll put in my lucky penny," said Danny. "It's got this year's date on it." "Well, I'll add my baseball cap," said Sherry, and in it went. "Whoever finds it might like my comic book," said Meg. "I'll add this newspaper," said Jed. "It has all of today's news in it." Matthew pulled out a picture of a group that he carried in his pocket. He wrote Elm Street Kids Club and the date on the back and tossed it in. Petey grabbed a loose tail feather with his beak and put it right on top. Jed closed the box and put it back in the hole. He covered it with dirt and carefully placed the rock with the X back on top. "X marks the spot," he announced. As they started back to their clubhouse to hide the map, Petey squawked, "X marks the spot, X marks the spot."